Okay, it's a pleasure to introduce Suket Dhir here today with us. And I'm Usha Nehru Patel from IIAD, working as Director Academics here. And it's a pleasure to know Suket Dhir for years together. I've been associated, since I'm fond of him, I keep inviting him again and again to our institute. And I ask him to talk about himself as a designer since last, I think, 4 years only, because there was a transition period when he moved on to another domain which was inherited within himself, but he hadn't exposed it outside, which is, I'm saying, about women's wear. He's launched very recently. He's doing fantastically well. So what is the secret of that? I want to hear from the horse's mouth here straight.
So I went from a very somber, monotone or monochromatic menswear aesthetic to a very ostentatious, flamboyant he for she collection. He for she is quintessentially menswear done in women's sizes. It's a women's wear collection.
To abrupt him here right now, or stop him here, this is his forte. And he loves doing it. And all the details in menswear, he's incorporated in women's wear. That's the excitement all about.
Exactly. So exactly what you said. All of the details, because menswear is always about finish, fit, detailing. And women's wear has a lot of color, flair, flamboyance. So what we managed to achieve is a combination of the two. What I've consciously did was I wanted to stick to menswear aesthetic because I was naturally and instinctively good at it. So I've not played around with proportions. What he for she is quintessentially menswear in menswear proportions done in women's sizes. So our blazers are not cropped like usual women's wear blazers are. Our blazers are like the man blazer is supposed to be. Our achkans, our bangalas, our kurtas, all of those are quintessentially menswear silhouettes cut in women's sizes. And then all of those fabrics that I used to use usually in the linings, brocades, satins, silks, all of those have now come out for the he for she.
That's something very exciting and interesting. Yes. And one would go to Suket's office and see his menswear collection, and we'll turn it around all up, inside out to see what detailings has he done. And they used to be so interesting, and one wonder, why did he work so hard to put the linings down there inside when it's not even visible outside, but it was exciting to see it on the hangers, and then gradually he realized himself, this excitement is inside, let's bring it outside. I suppose this is what.
So, and I think this is also, I say, personal evolution of me as a person.
Yeah, that's right.
It's almost me becoming confident of myself and then getting over all of those that, I don't need to show off or I need to show off. All of those notions vanished. So I just need to be. So it's the whole showing off or not showing off are complexities. And I think as soon as I shed those
inhibitions.
As soon as I shed those complexities and inhibitions, and I learned to be, these things started revealing themselves.
So it was considered menswear, it has to be somber, it has to be greys, white and greys and beiges and things like that. That flamboyance was missing completely, even with the younger group.
Yes.
I mean, they would wear the formals with very chic, structured, but very somber color. It would be just not really experimenting enough with the color. I think with your realizing and you giving something which is really unique, looks extremely exciting.
But it's also culturally relevant. As soon as you go into, say, history of art in India, as soon as you see the older sculptures, as soon as you see older paintings, everything, the flamboyance and flair in menswear is as old as humanity itself.
Absolutely.
I'd say because, again, considering Indian civilization is the oldest ancient surviving civilization.
Absolutely.
And so when you actually see some of the remnants of the past, you realize that all of the flair is there, all of those, there are no notions or do's and don'ts, or men are supposed to be only this way, women are supposed to be only that way.
Absolutely.
You can actually see a cross-section of men wearing womanly things and women wearing manly things, because that was not even a concept.
Yeah.
It was just drapes. It was not a menswear or
But
women's
when
wear. It
you
was just a drape.
Look at the Mughal miniatures or Mughal Kangra or whatever.
Yes.
The whole, even menswear, whatever these guys wore, Maharajas,
yes.
they had a flair, but look at the surface ornamentation. There are the sort of embroideries all over the place.
Yes.
And they would display it very, very,
So as soon as we go into miniatures, we are still looking at, say, 14th, 15th century onwards, or maybe to 12th century. Older bhi hain.
6th century, Jain miniatures.
Yes. Jain miniatures are the 6th century or even older.
Yeah.
Even older. Those Jain temple frescoes and all of those that you actually see, wo hote hain. But ma'am, the older they are, the more naked the people are. This is another something that, you know, the drapes are usually
sheer.
They're sheer and they're usually on the lower extremities. You'll actually see women wearing more jewelry than clothes on top, and men are also usually, I think I also reflected the tropical nature of this region. So the clothing, it was one of those Jain temple frescoes, you know, the kaftan that we recently did. That was inspired from a Jain temple fresco, and that is the one I was actually talking about. It was a ceiling where all of these versions of goddesses, they were only wearing uttariyas. They were not wearing any antaryas. They were not wearing antaryas. There was just jewelry and uttariyas. Yes.
Correct. So finally, from NIFT transition to the industry and then to your own label.
I can't believe that I'm actually also discussing so much history, because those are the things I never used to. I was bad at it. And it's just some things that when you evolve over time, there are certain things that start interesting you, and you start connecting the dots, and all those things that I thought I never learned in college, they start.
Yeah, it's a good lesson for our students. Right now, they feel it's,
not important.
Not important only, it's overbearing, it's too much, they can't absorb so much. But as I say, somewhere they do storing it, they usually store it up somewhere at the back of their head, and it comes to surface when the requirement is there.
Whenever you need it, it actually sort of starts bubbling.
Yes, right, absolutely. So in your case, same thing has happened, because your all detailing of your prints or the paintings have come again alive in your garments.
Yes.
So you're talking about your journey as a professional now.
So I started off with launching the brand in 2010. That was 5 years after I graduated from NIFT. I worked for about 3 years, almost 3 years with Wrangler, Arvind, and then I quit my job, and then I came back to Delhi. It was 2 years of soul searching. I did not know what I wanted to do with my life at that time, and that was also the time when I met Svetlana, who's my co-founder of the brand, my wife. Who
is inspired to get into women's wear.
Yes, who inspired me to get into women's wear, the he for she. She always wears men's wear clothes. You've always seen her wear pants and shirts mostly, and blazers. So, so those 2 years were hers, and as soon as we got married, is when I started sampling, and soon after, subsequently, we launched our collection in early 2011, late 2010, early 2011. And my first break was Good Earth. That's where we started detailing at. And Anita Lal is quintessentially my mentor and my patron. I mean, she encouraged me to no limits, and that gave me the confidence to, I think, achieve so much. It was her being there always. So Good Earth happened, and post Good Earth, I think within a couple of years, we got an invite from the Bullmark company, and then we.
That is such a huge success.
That's where one of your friends, Asha ma'am, comes into picture. So
she mentored you.
Yes, she mentored me through the process of applying for the Bullmark, and that's where the whole design process was followed to the T. And
you won.
And we won. In fact, I wasn't given a choice by Asha ma'am. She said,
"You have to win."
You have to win.
So she won.
There was no choice given, as usual.
But
we never had choices even for submissions in college, and I think that continues till date. There is no choice but to
submit your work.
Exactly.
Okay, but he has done beautifully well as far as the profession of fashion design goes. But I think last question I would ask him is that, what would be the 5 greatest USP of your brand?
I think our ability to tell stories through our prints.
Okay.
I think they're almost comic-like stories, which we say without words, but yes, the actions the animals are doing or the people are doing or whatever we
You
do.
can give an example. Your Kangra
we have
miniature
Kangras.
painting.
I was inspired from Kangra miniature paintings because Kangra has a lot of fun and dance and movement because they're mostly about Krishna Leela. So they're not stoic. Usually all the paintings or miniatures which were about Maharajas or Mughals, there the kings used to take themselves too seriously. So there was a certain amount of seriousness to those. Whereas in Kangra you see a lot of dance and freedom and movement and joy. And I think that's why I got inspired by that particular school. And then we reimagined what Maharajas be doing today. So I removed the dharmic aspect out of it and just thought how to reinterpret those garments, those people, those things. And then we reimagined Maharajas. What would the Maharajas, modern Maharajas be doing today? They'd obviously be playing golf. And I think that's what comes.
So all those miniature character, instead of doing the Krishna Leela business, they're playing shikar, they're playing golf.
And there are Maharanis,
glasses in their hands.
Yes, and the Maharanis are riding segways, Maharajas and his friends are on the golf carts. And there are Sakhis taking selfies. So when you notice, you'll see they might be picking fruits, but they're not. As soon as you look up close, you go up close to the print, you'll see they have a phone in their hand and they're taking selfies. So again, it's
okay, this is one of the USPs. Then second one.
The second one is our detailing and finishing. I think I'm particularly very, very proud of our finishing and our detailing. For example, one particular detail, which is a USP, is the double side seam. Now, the double side seam adds another dimension. So when we have a classic white shirt, just that double side seam adds a design element. So it makes that particular product special. But what it also enhances the product also, because we're adding more seams. Instead of one seam, there are two now. But it still enhances the product instead of making it more complex. It is light on the eyes, but on the inside there is no overlocking or raw edges or any of those. It's perfectly finished. So I'd say our shirts are probably the best finished shirts you can find anywhere in the world.
Okay, third.
The third is all of our buttons are stitched with different colors. So all the buttons are the same, but the thread used for stitching each button is a different color.
So what purpose does it solve over and over aesthetics?
I think it's purely aesthetic, but also it happenstance. I mean, it was just one of those instances when one of my buttons broke at home and mom was about to mend my shirt and she said, I don't have the thread, the yarn to match or the thread to match. And I just said, Mama, put any color, it doesn't matter. And she ended up putting a green one and it looked beautiful. And I came back to the office and I asked Master D that stitch all the buttons with different colors so that we never have this problem ever again of looking for a thread. So that was one of those details.
Okay.
I think another one of the USPs is the translation of menswear into women's wear.
I was about to say, you've forgotten that.
Yes. So the translation of menswear into women's wear is something that we managed to do very, very successfully.
That's his USP.
We made menswear feminine. Quite effortlessly, and it's an aesthetic that has become quite popular.
Yes,
and that is also something I don't know how to take credit for because it just happened. It's something
you have
that
to talk
evolved.
about it. You've not been talking about it. People have been talking about it, but you're not been talking about it. But you have to speak. I mean, you have to speak about it.
Yes.
How did the transition happen? Because usually it's the other way around.
Yes.
And for you, it's menswear to women's wear, and with the all. Detailing of menswear translating into women's wear with the proportion, structure, and so on and so forth.
So, for example, menswear is about finishing. I already said that. But menswear is also about pockets. Men love pockets because it's a very functional garment.
Absolutely.
So when you see the women's wear jackets, they have equal number of pockets as menswear. Not just number of pockets, even the depth of the pockets.
Pockets are good enough.
Are full depths. So you can actually hold a passport inside of your jacket. You can put your big size mobile phone in one of the pockets inside, and on the outside it'll seem as if you've not put anything in them. So it's quintessentially very, very functional versatile.
I think the fifth one we are coming into, and I better remind you because I don't think you would go straight there. And it's about your brocade and weave and textile that you're using for menswear.
Yes. So it's the layering that we've managed to also achieve finally is something that I've managed to use traditional techniques and modernize them very successfully. I think that's another one of
that's very
and you know, for the longest time, people of our culture, or at least general people, thought westernizing is modernizing. What we managed to figure out and implement was that it just has to be modernizing. Westernizing does not mean modern. And so what we managed to do is contemporize a tradition. So as soon as you marry tradition with technology, without compromising on either, what you get in the end is what we do.
Yeah, substance.
It's a modernized product.
Absolutely, which could be for any audience, any people, anybody who can around the globe can use it.
Exactly.
So and one of the Indian wear gone to Europe or America. It's the menswear which goes all over.
Yes, and it's the very simple things that we usually miss. Is that when people look at crafts, they always focused on motifs.
Yeah.
But it's usually the skill and the technique and the craft itself which is more important. Motifs
is one of the arts.
If I have an artisan who knows how to do, for example, we take jamdani, who knows how to do a very fine jamdani, I can recreate a motif from 2000 or 1000 years back, 1500 years back. Any motif that was done then, I can recreate it today. So, motif is not important. What's more, at least for me, motif is not important at all. It's the craft that is important. I need to make the craft relevant for the times, to today, and to the audience. And if say today the audience or the wherewithal to buy that craft is with the West, then you make the aesthetic of the craft targeted. So not just West, I mean whoever you're targeting, you can change the aesthetic as per that, but you keep the craft alive.
Yeah, that's true.
And motif can anyways be reproduced whenever.
Absolutely. Okay, I think that's a good enough insight into Suket Dhir.
We designed the outfit for Abhijit Banerjee for the Nobel Prize. And he became the first Indian Nobel laureate, the first Nobel laureate who wore his traditional clothes to receive the Nobel Prize. And that outfit is now the only outfit on a permanent display at the Nobel Museum. So that's another amazing thing that has happened in a couple of years.
Yeah, one of the feather in your hat.
Yes.
One more.
And that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Suket.
Thank you so much.
You've been a great inspiration for all our students. So I hope we keep calling you again and again, and you keep coming back to us again and again. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you.